So what I did is I just wrote down a bunch of movies and I ranked them, of course. But then I like stopped at 7 because the rest I'm like I either have seen trailers for, but it's like, is it really ahead of this movie that's critically acclaimed? No. Am I gonna do like an Avatar 2 type of pick? I think I am because I kind of want to talk about it. Wakanda Forever. I haven't seen anything. There's no plot to it, but I think just the sheer anticipation of what are they going to do the post Chadwick Boseman era. Ryan Coogler coming back to direct, right? Like that's huge. I think Coogler like already putting up his resume, right? I think this is a big time movie, and like you said, I after you said it, I completely agree. This might be a turning point for the MCU. Phase 4 struggling, Disney Plus shows struggling, right? At least critically, right? And word of mouth is not going the right way. And you have you have the Black Panther or IP here without the Black Panther, and you have a great director, but it's like you're hearing there's issues on set related to Letitia Wright, right? You're hearing like we haven't gotten a trailer yet. This movie comes out in 2 months or 3 months, excuse me. And again, like if they don't do a good job like paying homage to Chadwick Boseman, then maybe you have like Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett, all these famous actors coming to do these movies. Maybe they don't do a good job with it with Chadwick Boseman, and then it's like, oh, like they don't treat like their actors properly, and they bow out going into the future. I think this could be a turning point. I'm pretty sure you're probably going to see something different, but I could totally see this being a turning point, like you said.
Yeah, so like not even just a turning point. I think it's a breaking point with a lot of people. You've had a lot of Disney Plus shows from the last 2 years. Uh, we've had what 6 different Disney Plus shows already to this point. We've had already, I think, what 3 different movies within the past 7 months in the MCU. There's certainly a type of fatigue that's happening, but also not only fatigue. It seems like there's been a drop in quality. It seems like the CGI has been disappointing to say the least when you look at Multiverse of Madness into Thor Love and Thunder and the CGI and the TV shows. Usually, right, those are under budgeted compared to the films. And you see like those people that are working on these films, like they got to be exhausted because like they got to move from one project to the other. And we've seen other than No Way Home, there hasn't been an overwhelming hit from Marvel. It seems like every single one of them, if you're not a Marvel fan, you just watch those movies for like, okay, like assessing and evaluating those movies. I think they're pretty divisive. Okay, when you look at like Thor: Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, like Shang-Chi, I think was more positive and almost unexpected hit, right? But Eternals mostly negative. Okay, Black Widow, I would say not overwhelmingly, but also negative. Like we need another hit in the MCU to prove that they still deserve to reign at the top. It's not just formulaic. It's not just like, okay, we can bring out these characters you're familiar with and we can keep on going, right? These shows are introducing new characters, kind of failing, right? We got RDJ gone, Chris Evans gone, Chadwick Boseman not coming back. You talked about it. How are audiences going to react to what Ryan Coogler chooses to do? There's been a lot of rewriting of this script, okay? Also, this movie, it's following up a Best Picture winner, right? Nominee. Similar to like Avatar, okay, sequel coming up, right? We have even more culturally significant movie that was Black Panther, right? That actually did win a couple Academy Awards, all right? Now has to live up to that pedestal, right? Or the precedent it's set for itself. And then going beyond that, like you also have like characters like Namor being introduced, Namor the Submariner, which is a major Marvel character, right? That fans have been looking forward to. Are you going to honor like the legacy of that character from the comic books and implement it into the MCU properly, right? There's just so much going on with this movie. Who's going to take up the mantle? Should they recast Black Panther itself? There are so many different dynamics going on with this movie. It has to be on this list because it's just you're just licking your chops to see how everything's going to play out, whether it's going to be good or bad. You just want to see.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Because like you don't necessarily have like an A-lister driving this movie, right? To like for anticipation, like you do with like Leo, right? You don't necessarily have like the Marvel power right now isn't as strong as what it used to be, right? I guess those two combinations makes it so weird because you still have the director, you still have a great ensemble around it, right? And you still have the allure of the MCU, but just not as strong as it once was. But going forward, I think this is a November 11th, so this is pretty far out. But we're gonna see a teaser this week, and I'm almost sure of it. At least images, and I think that's the most important thing I think this weekend has in store related to this Comic Con.
Like, I'm willing to guarantee we're going to get a trailer. I'm willing to guarantee it. Okay, at this point, if we haven't gotten any looks yet, and they want to basically squash any controversy that's remained, like the rumors that are swirling about this movie. But yeah, I think the fans, or at least maybe even Marvel themselves, kind of took for granted that 2016 to 2019 run that the MCU had, where you went from Civil War, and then 2017 you got Ragnarok, and then you have obviously Infinity War, Black Panther, Endgame. Like, that is an insane run of blockbuster hits, right? And that's a high level of blockbuster you have to live up to. And it also created the greatest phase in the history of the MCU with Phase 3. Like, Phase 4, what direction are we heading in? Will this movie point us into any type of direction? Because we are now what? This is the 6th movie in Phase 4? 6?
Black Widow, Eternals, this,
Shang-Chi,
Thor,
Spider-Man.
Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, 7, Doctor Strange.
Wow. Like, there's been this many movies. Like, every phase of the MCU has like 6 or 7 movies. Like, it's not usually this big. So the fact that if we don't get a direction after this movie, it might be like Marvel's kind of just like, we don't know what to do exactly, or you just have to introduce this whole different, like, I don't even know. I don't know, because they're not introducing anything, you know? Like, it doesn't seem like they said there's incursions, there is multiverse, there's this, in maybe 1 or 2 projects, maybe 2 or 3. But these other projects, we just watched Thor: Love and Thunder, they couldn't give a crap about what was happening outside of their own little world there. They couldn't
And
give a crap. And
not
like,
to
and that's what we build, like, as an audience. We're like, yo, like, I get it, but you built it, a Marvel experience, like, quote unquote. You have to build towards a larger story because that's what we're used to. And when you come off the biggest phase in the history of the MCU with no direction, with the next one, like, people are going to start like asking questions and criticizing.
I completely agree. And I think it's interesting not to bring DC into it because my next pick is not going to be a DC movie here. But again, like their DCEU, like it's such a mess. I'm not saying Marvel's going to become that, but what I'm trying to say is what's been successful for them? These independent solo stories. Marvel, they're not going to do that anytime soon, but it just goes to show, like, yeah, you can do it for a certain amount of time, this franchise, this universe, but like maybe universes run their courses. They don't have to continue it for decades, right? Maybe a universe runs its course, but obviously money, IP just keeps going in that flow of direction. People committed to the MCU right now and this particular universe. But after, if they don't do a good job with this, you could see after a year, 3 unsuccessful critical acclaim movies, it could struggle.
Yeah, and like, this comes at such a crucial time too, because we're introducing the X-Men and the Fantastic Four still on the horizon. Like, they're not even there yet. And if you got people already dismissing the MCU before they even arrive, or Deadpool, that's a very scary situation. Like, what if the box office numbers start dwindling? Those Disney Plus numbers. Like, I just want them to get rid of the shows and focus on the movies, but they will never do that because of obviously the streaming wars that you've talked about numerous times on this show. It's just, I wish they cared more about the quality, and I think they need to also reduce the number. You can't have 4 TV shows and 3 movies in a year and still expect to look like Phase 3. That is almost impossible, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree.